Good afternoon, people. It's Tuesday afternoon, just after lunch. I spent yesterday changing the flue out there, which I'll show you in a minute. But I've been working on the plunder I got from the very nice people across the road. I've got two good condition working chainsaws here with both with good blades on. One of them needs lubricating a bit, but they're both good. I've also got, what else have I sorted out today? Oh, the roll of insulation. I've got some box section steel actually, which might come in for a stand, making a stand for the Johnson Shipman, which is a little project that I've sort of put on hold at the moment because I've got other stuff to do. But I'm thinking of what to do next, and I have promised that I'm going to start on the tractor. But what I might do this afternoon is just pop that test bar in the lathe and see if we can run a dial gauge up and down it and see how much, if any, the lathe headstock is out of line. But that's after I have done, that's all formed the pieces, and after I've done what? I'll take you and show you the new flue. The flue came from the lady across the road as well, so it was very convenient and very well timed. There's the old flue laying on the floor. There's the new one in its place. Very smart, eh? Right. So as you might have gathered, we had a complaint about the height of the flue, and so I've reduced the height to something, shall we say, less obtrusive to my neighbours. But there you go. They'll always find something to complain about. They know who they are. So, I've got a couple of chainsaws, and the welder is more or less finished. I'm waiting for an earth clamp, a 400 amp earth clamp to come. I've got the new style regulator for it. I just have to do, I've got some black silk paint to do the front panel with. I'm going to take those nasty Dymo label maker labels off and put some proper labels on it, because my brother's got a very nice label maker, so I'll use that to make some proper labels for it. And we'll smarten it up. But I'm going to shut down now, and I'm going to get the chuck off the lathe, clean the bore of the spindle, and see if we can get this lathe test bar into the bore of the spindle in a straight fashion, and then see if we can test it. So I'll catch you in a bit. Right, chaps, here it is, and look at this. So it's about 11 thou. Right, each 2 marks is a thou, because this is a 5/10. This is a 5/10 DTI. So we have about 11 thou out in rotation, and wherever we put it, we have about 5 thou out longitudinally, which is what we got before. Right, so if I turn that now to the 11, no, it doesn't seem to be. Now there's still about, we've obviously lined the error, we've lined the error up and it's working in the error's favour, but before we can test this longitudinally, we've got to get rid of this. Right, now I don't think this is play in the spindle, because there's no movement there, right? And I've tried this with a bar in the chuck, and I was unable to see any play in the bearings whatsoever. I was unable to move it, swinging on the end of a foot long bar. I was unable to get any movement in it. So it's odd. It's odd, but it's going to need further investigation. But I can't possibly align the headstock until I can get that running to 2/10. Right, and we know that this isn't. See, look, I can move it that little bit, but that's all, and that's pushing on it fairly hard. Right, so we know that that isn't alignment. That is probably the bush and the test bar that has not gone into the taper of the lathe perfectly square. So I'm going to have to investigate the taper in the lathe and see if I can get that in more square, well, get it in perfectly square really, and then look again at aligning the headstock. Okay people, I'll bring you back when I've learnt some more. Bye for now. I'm a lucky man. I'm a lucky man because I've got 2 bushes to fit in the headstock. And when I fitted the other one, completely different ball game. We now have about 1 thou run out, rotating the, and that's at about a foot, about 300 mils. So we have 1 thou run out now. Right, so what I'm going to do now, and also we've got very little in the way of, you know, possibly 2 thou out that way. Right, so we're a lot nearer. So what I'm going to try and do now is I'm going to take the bush and the taper out again, and I'm going to reseat the bush 180 degrees in the opposite direction. Right, so I'm going to mark it where the key is, then I'm going to knock it out, turn it round and tap it back in again and see what difference that makes. Okay, bring you back in a minute people. Right people, I have gained some improvement. What I've done is I've marked the bush and started off with the mark lined up with the keyway. Then I tried the mark opposite the keyway. Then I tried it at the quarters, the quarter twos if you like, and the quarter pass. Right, and I've found that it actually, in the position I've got it in now, which is like maybe 10 to the key, I've actually got it quite accurate. And what we have now is about 1 thou on the rotation, as you can see. Right, if I just take that back to 0 there, and then as we go along, we end up with about 1 thou excuse me, still coughing. We end up with about 1 thou on the length of that bar, which is about, it's about 300 mil. So it is not as far out as I thought it was, but what I have noticed is that the play, the error moves right? And if you give the bearing a good tug and then set it up again and test it again, you actually get a different result, which makes me think that the trying to set this up is pointless until I've actually confirmed the bearing is good and possibly put the other bearings in if it's not good. So I think the next job on this is going to be to strip the headstock and take the spindle out and check the bearings and possibly put the new ones in, probably put the new ones in, I would say. But anyway, there you are. So what you need to do basically is, when you take the chuck off, get a light inside the spindle, clean inside the spindle, make sure it's spotless, make sure there's no dings or anything, and it's easy to ding the taper when you're putting long pieces of steel through, especially fairly big pieces of steel. So you need to clean the dings out and get your taper seated, right? And when you've got your taper seated, you need to put a mark on it opposite the keyway and put your test bar in. And then if you find you've got quite an error, you need to take the whole lot out again, take the bush out, rotate the bush, start off rotating it 180 degrees and then try rotating it 90 degrees, and then split that and try rotating it 45 degrees until you find the position where it's most accurate, right, which is what I've done, and then start to test. And as I say, the test actually proves that there's very little run out in the position of the headstock on the bed. I could possibly improve it a little, but I think 1 thou in that distance for an old machine is not bad. But actually, excuse me, it's a particularly bad day for hay fever today. It's very hot and dry. I shall check up the spec on the original lathe and see what the run out should be. And I'll get back to you, but other than that, it isn't the 4 thou out that I thought it was. That was to do with the chuck that I was using, and not the lathe itself. So I'm going to just continue on a bit with this, and if there's anything else, if I come to any other conclusions, I'll bring you back. I also want to look at a collet chuck that I've had for some time and see if it actually fits the centre spindle, but I'll check up on that and I'll possibly bring you back and show you a bit more. Bye for now, people. Right, here's another test you can do, people. I've got a small dial indicator with a lever arm on it, and I've got that running on the taper on the inside of the spindle. Now I think you can see, if I turn that, there is very little deviation apart from one place where it actually drops into a little ding, and that, for a lathe of this age, that is quite incredibly good. In fact, it's quite amazing. So there may not be anything wrong with the spindle bearings, but I'm dubious, and I've always been dubious about the bearings in the headstock on this lathe because it is so noisy, and they are known for being noisy, having noisy headstocks, partly because of the gears, which were not particularly accurate until they got some new German grinding machinery in, which actually made a very good job of grinding the gears and made the headstocks a lot quieter. So I shouldn't criticise the German equipment, really. They make some very accurate machines, like the Swiss do. But looking at this, and rotating that, we have not got any significant deviation there at all. Apart from when the pointer, let's see if I can, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, you probably won't be able to see it in there. Can I get a bit more light in there? there is a ding on the inside. That's it there. There is a ding on the inside. There, it's there. And you see the needle jumping as it goes over that ding. Right? It's actually I've been over it with a little fine stone, and it's actually down. It's not. There's no raised portion of it as far as I can see, but you can see how much it makes that needle deviate there as we go across it. Or at least I hope you can. Okay, that's another test you can do. Check on the inside taper, and of course check on the outside taper as well. Okay people, bye for now. Right people, here's an interesting one for you. We have swapped onto the other lathe. We're on the Covmac now. Now if I can just hold that there and you watch that needle, which is zeroed, as we wind it this way, very suddenly it jumps, and if we wind it back, very suddenly it jumps back again. And the cause of that is the gap bed, which is not properly fitted, right? And it's giving it a little bump. It's giving the saddle a little bump to one side, and this is why it's important to fit your gap bed spotlessly clean and absolutely tight, and make sure it's completely flush, because that jumps there, and as you wind that up it actually moves the saddle over. It actually moves the saddle over 6 thou, and as you go back it suddenly jumps back to zero again. So there you go. Make sure if you've got a gap bed, make sure it's fitted properly and it's super flush on the top surface. Okay, see you later. Oh look, it's gilding the lily. There you go. I've just masked all the markings up and given it a coat of silk black. Now the markings that I've masked up are literally the markings. All the text is in French, and I've blanked all that out, and I'm going to relabel it in English so that there's no health and safety problems with it, and nobody can complain that they didn't understand the instructions. So there we go people. So that's today's little job, and here I am. Now I have to go early today because I've got the car booked in for tracking and tyres, because I've lost half of the wear on 2-pack tyres due to the tracking being out on the rear, and it scrubbed the tyres off, which is annoying, but there you go. And I'm booked in for 2 o'clock, so I'm shortly going to go, but I've masked that up this morning and got it on. You might have noticed I was a bit odd yesterday. Every now and again I get the black dog descends on me, and I just sit around here and I can't get into anything, and life doesn't seem worth living, etc, etc, etc. You know the score, I'm sure a lot of you get it as well. But I'm feeling a bit better today, and I'll probably go on to feel better tomorrow. So thanks for watching, and I'll bring you back for Thursday, because I'll be back here on Thursday. Probably what shall we do on Thursday? I think I might dig the tractor out and get started on the Toro wheelhorse with the 2CV engine in it. So we'll do that. I've come to the conclusion that it's not worth doing any more to the Colchester till I've got the spindle out and check the bearings. I've checked the alignment on the Covmac, and that's very good. So there you go. Even though it's an old machine. The welder's about finished now. I've just got some labels to make for it, and it'll be going up for sale, because there's no real point in having 2 3-phase welders, and the whole idea at the end of the day was to get rid of it. The bench centres I shall be keeping it short. I think that's about it for today. It's another gorgeous day. It's really a bit too warm, but it's ideal for spraying paint. So there you go. Right, chaps. Catch you later. Very carefully pressing button. Good morning, people. It's Thursday morning, and I've just got here, and I'm just demasking what I painted yesterday. And I thought it was going to be a bit difficult, because you normally demask this sort of thing while the paint's still tacky, and I didn't. So I'm just going to show you the last little bit being removed, and I hope that filming it doesn't put a curse on it and make it not work. But there we go. There we go. Beautiful. Beautiful. That looks much better. I'm happy with that. Just get some labels made up now and it'll look like a grand one. Okay, I'll bring you back when there's something more interesting to show you. Bye for now. So, we're back on the Wheelhouse, and I'm just doing a bit of adjustment to this shaft here and the keyways. Basically what I'm doing is hand fitting the key until it fits all the key properly. This key in this shaft I milled on the Harrison with a cutter, which I thought was well, it actually measured up as a quarter, but I must have been a bit liberal with my measuring, because it's actually slightly under, and it's just required a clean up. It may be that some of the corners were missing, or it wasn't quite square, but it's maybe I didn't have the shaft square in the vise, but it just required a slight clean up to make it fit. So I've got to fit the key steel to the shaft and to the pulleys, and I'm almost there, so I'll just crack on with that. But here's a little laugh for you. I got my new bag of M7 by, I think they're M7 by 1. They might be M7 by 7.75 actually, but I'm not sure. But I got my little bag through the post, and as I was clearing all the junk off the tractor to start on it again, I found the bag I'd ordered previously with the same bolts in. So I've now got plenty of those in stock, which is probably a good thing, because on 2CVs they did use some strange threads. For instance, the normal 8mm thread is 8 by 1.25, whereas on the 2CV some of the 8mm threads are 8 by 1mm, and you don't come across those very often, although they are easily available if you order them. So there you go. So I'll crack on with that, and I'll bring you back if anything else interesting happens. Bye for now. And there we are, people. Pulleys and keys fitted. As you can see, we've got this belt on. We'll need to just rejig the jockey pulley there to hold the belt clear of the engine, and also probably there as well. But this is the driving run of the belt, and this is the loose run of the belt, so that will be up there anyway, so that isn't a problem. But it was jigged like this before with two little a roller at the top and a guide at the bottom just to stop the belt catching, and it worked perfectly well. So that's the pulleys fitted. So the next thing I've got to do is I've got to bore out this pulley for an Allen screw, or possibly even two Allen screws. I might put one there and one. I don't know. I don't think it'll be necessary, will it? I'll see how it goes. I've got to put an Allen screw in it to anchor it on the shaft in. So I'll go away and I'll get my gear out, and then I'll show you how I'm going to measure it up to find the centre. Okay. See you in a bit. Right, folks. Here's a simple little job. I have to drill a hole in the pulley and get it to come out over the top of the key square. So how can I do that? Well, we use this wonderful centre finder, which is part of the one of these kits, a combination square, and if we just swing that round, you see I've blued the end of the pulley up. We just swing that round until it intersects the centre of the keyway, and then we scribe it. And there we are. We have a line. We have a line. Oops, I'm sliding off. And there it is on the other side. So there we are. Now if we mount that in a machine vise across there, and we get a set square, and we line the square up with that line, and then we bring the square to the edge of a rod in the drill chuck, we can find the centre and we can drill straight down and come out over the top of the key. Now I think I'm probably going to put one in there, and I may also put one in there as well, although that's a bit far out actually. That's actually dished in, that pulley. That's not going to leave very much meat there. I might just go with one. Because it's not doing a great deal, and we're only driving on one of the pulleys. It's not doing a great deal. Okay, there we go. Go and set it up and get it drilled. Right chaps, this is my setup. I meant to show you this before I drilled it, but I've actually just drilled it because I get carried away. So we get the machine vise, we clean the table of the drill, we get the machine vise on the table of the drill, we line up the pulley with the square till the line is square. We know that the vertical line is then spot on above the keyway, and then if you turn the drill until you can see the point of the drill and lower it down like that, you can line it up with the line in the blue, and you can just spot it and check that your spot is bang on, and then you can drill it like that. And that's exactly what I've done, and that's 6.5mm, which is tapping size for 5/16 BSW, which is what my grub screw is. So there you go, job done. Right, I'll bring you back when there's anything more interesting happening. Another little trick I do is when I'm working with heavy stuff on the drill table, like big vices and stuff like that, I just pop an engineer's jack under there, stick it on the web and just nip it up before I put the weight on it. It just stops the table dropping at the front. You'll especially appreciate things like that if you've got a slightly worn boss there, or you've got a somewhat of a, shall we say, cheaper end of the market drill stand. They do flex, without a doubt. I mean, you could put a dial gauge on there and you could flex it a couple of thou, so it just takes the risk out of it. You never know. There you go. Bye for now. And there she is, people, all fitted up and keyed and tightened on, and that's how the belts go. And we need next to work out a support plate or framework to fit to support that outer bearing, which is what takes all the load from the belt, which to be honest isn't much, but I wouldn't like to swing it on there on the bearings in the engine, so I'm putting this outer support bearing on to just to carry the load. So there we go. Well, it's 4 o'clock Thursday, so I shan't be here much longer, so I'll call that it for today, and I'll bring you back tomorrow and we'll crack on with it and see if we can't get something done. I've just missed a job that I've had to quickly do for my brother, who was fitting an SE oil fired stove, and he brought the he's borrowed the SE lifting equipment to lift the stove, and it's made out of box section which is a little bit too thin, and one side of it had collapsed, and he's just fetched it up, and I had to straighten that out and weld it for him, but it's gone okay, and it's back. But I could have videoed that, but I didn't. But I'm sure you would have been totally bored by it anyway. Right, catch you later. Good morning, people. It's Friday morning, just after 11. I've just got here due to various delays. New earth clamp for the Socome welder, $4.99 for a 400 amp earth clamp, and believe you me, I cannot open that with one hand. That spring is strong. Sometimes eBay just comes up trumps, doesn't it? Right, I'm going to get this fitted. I've just done a nice tape binding on the end of the cable there. I'm going to get this fitted, and then I'm going to leap back into this and see if I can fill the gap between that blue bearing and those 4 fixings on where the bell housing used to be. Okay, I'll bring you back when there's something more interesting to show you. Bye for now. Right folks, it's Friday, 1 o'clock. I've got a jockey pulley and rebuilt it and fitted it onto there, and that's sorted that belt run out. This belt run, if it isn't, that's actually the driving belt run. This is the slack belt run, so that's the driving run. So I might need to put a little roller onto there just to get it over that, or maybe put something further down here just to lift it a little, but it's hardly going to touch that, so I think it may well be okay. But my cousin Keith, who we were going to do the fencing with and didn't do it because COVID hit, has just rung me up and said, my wife's done a back in and I need to take 20 or 30 bags of dog poo to the CA site. Can you come and give me a hand? So that is going to be it for this week. I shall spend the rest of the day carrying dog poo. So won't that be fun? Right, well, we've made progress here. We've got the key fitted, and we've got the pulleys fitted, and it's all beginning to line up, it's all beginning to fall into place, and I think, as usual, it's going to be not as hard as I thought it was. That's the cover for there. I hope it's going to be not as hard as I thought it was. I've fitted the wonderful welding clamp to the cable, and now all I've got to do on this is put the stickers on the front when we get round to making them, which will be early next week, and that's finished and going for sale. So that's it, chaps. I'll give you a panoramic view of the Toro wheelhouse. See you all next week. Bye for now.